Welcome to another edition of From the Frontlines. I'm joined today by James McNeely, principal at Guerin High School. Good afternoon.
Hi, Tammy. Good to be here. Thanks.
You guys are doing something many would be quite jealous of at this point, and that is that you have everybody back in school, all in person. You've been there for a few weeks. Tell us how it's going.
A few weeks. Yeah, we started our third trimester. We have a unique schedule. We're trimesters here at Guerin Catholic, and so yeah, starting on March 2nd with the start of our third trimester, we brought all of our kids back, and yeah, it's been going very well. Not without its hiccups, certainly along the way, but it's been helped that the county numbers are incredibly lower. We're really at our lowest point that we've seen throughout this pandemic, and that certainly has helped our school numbers remain very low as well.
What kind of precautions have you had to put in place, or what are some of the challenges that you have with having more bodies in one building?
Yeah, I think that when it comes to precautions, a lot of that is the same precautions that we've been doing, and that's what we've told our kids. We've been wearing masks, but a lot of us are experiencing this mask fatigue, and we've just said we've got to persevere through. We've got a couple months in the school year left, and we've got to make sure that we're wearing our masks when we're in classrooms and in the halls and things like that. So that's an important precaution. I think the other thing is being very creative with our lunchroom. The lunch is the one time that there aren't masks happening, or one of the times when masks are not being worn, because obviously we're eating and drinking, and so we've got to make sure to maintain a 6-foot distance during our lunch times, and we're getting very creative with that. We are using every free square inch of our school in order to be able to accomplish that. We're not eating in classrooms. That's something we talked about, but ultimately we're using hallways, media center, extra rooms. We partitioned off our gym. We're just doing, and as the weather gets nicer, we're going to be using outside. We're actually putting up a tent later this week that our kids will be able to eat outside in. So we're just trying to get very creative and making sure our kids can space out.
Tell us how the kids have responded in coming back. Were they eager to be there?
They are. I think there were a few kids that really enjoyed the more laid back style of the hybrid. Kind of having every other day to learn in their jammies was probably pretty attractive. Even my own son kind of referred that to me. Man, I got to go to school every day now, Dad. But I think overall, they've done really well. I think one of the things that we may have underestimated, there was actually a lot of anxiety with our kids coming back, and I don't know that even they knew that they were going to experience that, but some of our larger classes are 27, 28 kids, and even the ones that are in the low 20s or even the teens, a lot of our kids just haven't been in environments where you've been that close to people for, if you think about it, a year. And so there was just some things. Our counselors are a wonderful blessing to our school, but they along with our teachers just had to be patient with those kids as they kind of work through some of those feelings of being back around this many people.
What about your staff? How have they responded?
Oh boy, I can't say enough good things about our teachers and what they've done. They've been incredible. I tell you, the job of any teacher this year has just been one that's been filled with all sorts of obstacles that they've had to overcome. And our teachers have been great. I'm so proud of them. When we did, hybrid, the way we did it for pretty much, all the year up until this point, they were so resilient through that and so flexible and be able to work with kids that they were wonderful. And now asking them, to pivot back here. Look, even a lot of our teachers, we made this switch right as they were coming out with the opportunity for most teachers to be vaccinated. So we started this with most of our staff not being vaccinated, and praise God, we've now opened that up, and enough vaccines are readily available that I would say at this point, most of our staff either has been or at least is on an appointment to be at this point. But they've been great in working through that, and I can't say that we had 100% saying this is the right thing to do, but we did have 100% saying that we recognize this is the way that kids learn best, and we recognize that we're on board. We're here for you, and they've really stepped up big.
So let me ask you this, because I know that you guys did actually start the year all in person, then had to pivot back to hybrid. What's different now? Why do you think it's going to work this time where maybe it wouldn't have in the fall?
That's a great question, and I'll say that all I can do is speak, with some degree of confidence because of the momentum we have. But I've long since given up trying to be any sort of predictor with this pandemic. But I will say, when we look at our state and our county numbers, we are seeing it trending down as opposed to sort of a slight trend up, which is what we kind of had, in the fall. So I think that gives me some comfort that we're coming out of this. Certainly, the medical experts that we've talked to believe that that's somewhat the case. A little worried about spring break. I'm sure we'll touch on that here in a minute. But
Yeah.
but overall, I feel like our state and our county are headed in the right direction. So I think that's helped. The other thing that's really helped us, one of the most difficult things throughout this, we continue to see, and the CDC came out and reaffirmed this, we're not seeing it spread in schools. It's not spreading in the school environment. What we're seeing is it's spreading in social environments, and then what's happening in the schools is we're having to quarantine so many kids. That was our problem in the very beginning, in the fall, in those just 2 weeks we were here, was when we had those cases, we had to quarantine so many students that just wasn't feasible. So Indiana has recently switched to a 3-foot distance to quarantine in a school setting as opposed to a 6-foot distance to quarantine, and that made all the difference in the world for us. We can do 3 feet. We can keep most kids 3 feet apart. Not in every case. There are lab tables where you got a partner and you're sitting next to each other. But even in those cases, if we would have a student, test positive, we're talking having to quarantine a handful of kids. Not the, in the past you had to just draw a circle around the kid, and it was nearly, because of the way we changed classes at the high schools and most middle schools. I mean, one positive case ended up quarantining, 50 to 60 kids for a 2-week time, and that was incredibly difficult to deal with. So I am grateful the state changed that because of the research showing it's not spreading in the school setting, and that's certainly helped us that causes me optimism that we're going to be more successful this time.
Yeah, it does seem that we all have learned a lot in just the last 6, 7, 8 months that will at least hopefully play to your favor. Let's talk about spring break, though. That's coming up here soon, and we always see an uptick of cases once we send the kids home for a break. So how are you guys planning to combat that?
We've looked, I agree. We've looked at our data, and every time we've had a break, we've had a slight uptick in cases coming back from that this year. What we are doing to try to combat that, we're just trying to be proactive. I don't know what's going to happen, but common sense tells me that as much as our people and our community is going to be out in other communities and then coming back here, that if we are going to see a spike in cases, that's probably when it's going to occur. So we're just being a little cautious. We're coming back from spring break back to a hybrid environment for about a week and a half. And that way, if anybody was in any kind of environment that's unsafe, they can quarantine. Certainly, there are many ways that you can travel safely, and you can be distanced. But depending on the crowds you're around, there may be opportunities, where that's not the case. There's also international travel, as the CDC is recommending a 7-day quarantine for anybody who's traveling internationally, and that's a small part of our population, but it's a few people. So we want to make sure to give them that opportunity too. We're not of the mindset that we're telling people don't travel. We believe that family time and is really important, and I think people are frankly probably a little tired of being cooped up here in Hamilton County and want to get out. So we're taking more the approach that we just want to be proactive and making sure that we do everything we can to protect our end of the year. All the things that happen at the end of a school year, the spring sports, the wrap up, the graduation, all those things we want to make sure and protect. So we find this simple thing that we're doing, just going back for a week and a half to blended, hopefully we'll protect some of that.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. It sounds like you guys are doing very well over there. So congratulations.
Thanks, Tammy.
That's Principal James McNeely with Guerin High School. We'll check back with you before the end of the year.
All right, sounds good.